Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Aussie FIRE. Today we want to speak to you about mindset and in particular how you can build a stronger mental state. So we're going to discuss some of the most important mental frameworks that we think are helpful when you're on the path to building wealth.
Yeah, so the first one is when you're looking at preparing for losses or setbacks, particularly in a practical way, because losses and setbacks are inevitable. I'm sure there's a couple of people out there who just have had a perfectly smooth journey over the last 10 years or might have some in the future too, but for most of us, they just kind of happen. And how do you prepare for it? So, I mean, maybe if you just start us off, Dave, as an example, what's something that's happened to you in the last 5 years that was, expectedly unexpected, you might say, that you consider to be like a loss or a setback in your financial journey or something to do with your personal finance? Or have you been smooth sailing for the last 5 years? Do we need to go back further?
So I suppose I could answer that in a couple of ways. There's been, obviously, interest rates rising from 2% to 6.5% in a pretty short time frame for someone who has a reasonable amount of property-related debt. That was obviously quite maybe, let's say, an uncomfortable turn of events. So dealing with that was somewhat of a surprise, but it hasn't really been too detrimental. So I suppose...
What was the impact like on you in not in, monetary terms necessarily, but like, was that kind of like a third of cash flow disappeared, or like, tell it to me in a way that's more concrete, I guess, because otherwise I won't feel bad for you.
You're not buying into my violin strategy here, mate.
Yeah, I kind of bought into a high interest rate environment, so I don't kind of have that experience about the surprise of it, because for me, that's my reference point now, so I probably won't experience that for quite a while now. But how does that affect you practically, just to ask?
So it's the effect of it essentially was that it started eating into the cash that we had in our bank account, and the difference in terms of cash flow, I suppose I would describe it as more than our total spending. That was the difference, like kind of like almost like our spending had doubled.
Yeah.
So like quite a
that's the kind of thing.
Quite a significant difference. Yeah. So in a worst case scenario, like if it kept happening or there was other things that went wrong at the same time, then we probably just would have brought forward a sale of a property, because it would start getting a bit sort of frustrating.
So you're sitting at home, just to picture it. People are on the internet saying the price of cheese has gone up by 15%, and you're thinking, I don't give a damn about the price of cheese. My costs have doubled. Like that's how serious it is, I guess, when you have like these debts to manage and they're just like triple, quadruple interest rates so quickly.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I wasn't that worried about groceries, but then you could argue that's a privileged position to be in, which in many cases it is. But I was more concerned about larger monetary problems that were possibly going to happen. So that's one example, I guess. But I mean, we've spoken about this in the past, mate, in a previous episode.
So when we talk about practical ways to prepare for these losses and setbacks, are you saying that for you, when it came to this, massive interest rate hike and how it affected you, that for you it was just kind of beforehand going in knowing that something's going to go wrong? I can't just assume that I'm spending X dollars today and therefore I'll spend X dollars tomorrow. Like, lots of things could happen. A house could burn down, or the property market could crash, or interest rates could go up, and it's just knowing that exists. So when it did happen for you were just kind of like, well, something was going to go wrong at some point. I guess this is it. Is that kind of what you mean?
It sounds like a gloomy approach. Something was going to go wrong. You hear people that have that sort of a mind state. It was more so just I try and keep a frame of maybe mental openness or something like that, I guess you would call it, where I'm not assuming things will unfold in a certain way. I'm not assuming things will stay the way they are.
Right, so on the other side too, you're kind of like, maybe things will go better.
Yeah, exactly. I just assume that I don't know what's going to happen. I might have some general guesstimates that I might use, but yeah, it's just a case of sort of remaining open and then imagining what I would do under different scenarios. So a lot of this, I don't know if you've done much reading about sort of philosophy and stuff like this, mate, but a lot of this actually ties back into like what the ancient Greeks used to say. Like it's related to Stoicism, and so they were big on people having personal resilience and managing their expectations in a way to where whatever happened, it wouldn't detrimentally affect their mental state, and they were still able to function and still able to be happy human beings regardless of sort of their external circumstances.